Welcome to the Podski.
What? Ooh, yeah.
You understand, baby?
Dig it?
Let me tell you another thing.
First name John, last name Baker. Uh-huh. Brother.
Hello and welcome to the Podski. I am your host, the man of 1,000 gimmicks, John Baker. It's finally here. We've made it to the Halloween Supershow. And it is a great one. We got a new guest on the Podski, and we have returning guest Justin Andretti, and we talk professional wrestling, all things spooky, masks, all of it. And it was such a great time. I had so much fun doing it. We feel like we got a really good show for you. What the?
Trick or treat!
Well, it looks like we got some trick-or-treaters. We better go see who it is.
Ah, yes, this is your governor of Minnesota. This is Jesse the Body Ventura, and I'm here to ask the questions. I need to know who is the real identity of Justin Andretti.
Okay, I'm not. What are you doing here? And I'm not going to give away the man's gimmick.
I demand answers.
Again, Jesse, I'm only handing out candy here for the kids. You can go on and leave.
You know what? You're going to hear from my lawyers, because I demand answers to my questions.
All right, well, there you have it. We had our first interruption here on the Podski. That was Jesse the Body Ventura popping in here, and the door is open. It's trick or treat night here on the Podski. We are going live, and it's gonna be a good time. We're gonna tell some really cool stories, some really funny ones. So let's get to it here on the Halloween Super Show. Hello and welcome to the Halloween Super Show.
Oh,
Shit.
We got Justin Andretti, the reoccurring guest, and we got beautiful Bobby Winters. He is
Thank you for having me.
Live in the flesh.
Mm-hmm.
And today is our, like we already said, it's the Halloween Super Show. We're gonna talk everything spooky, anything that's happened with paint or masks. We're gonna give you our top 5 list. It doesn't really have to be a top 5 list. There's gonna be personal stories in here. And thank you both for coming on for the Super Show.
yeah, happy to be here, man. Always.
Oh yeah.
All right.
You want to hear something really spooky?
Oh boy.
So I went down to Downey yesterday, and I was in a Burlington coat factory.
Oh, Lord.
Sometimes they've got elites and ultimates in there pretty cheap, right? And I was like, you know what? I'm just walking around. I don't care. I'm just gonna go see what they got. So I go in there, and I found I'm trying to think who it was supposed to be. I think it was supposed to be Alexa Bliss Ultimate.
Yeah.
And it had the Fiend in the package.
That sounds about right.
It was a Fiend. It was a Fiend basic in the package. She had put on a little bit of weight. I didn't know that. She got a little bigger in big form.
Anybody
she must have just become cognizant of how far downhill her career's gone.
Anybody that fig swaps is an instant dirtbag. Don't fig swap.
I do. It's so funny. I see it all the time. It's always hilarious.
It is really funny. I do really enjoy them when you see them. But if I ever walked in there and there was a fig I was looking for and it was the one I wanted, but someone swapped out like a Truck and Tom Miller in there, oh my gosh, I'd be so mad.
I would love a Truck and Tom Miller elite. Hey, before we get going here, this is going to get sideways quick with this episode. Just FYI,
for sure.
everybody out there in podcast land. But did anyone watch Halloween Havoc yesterday?
Hell
The
no.
NXT.
I can't say that it was on my my list.
Let me give you a little rundown.
Yeah.
So first off, it's gotten better again. So NXT's pretty good again. You know, it's safe to watch if you're a fan. But
All right.
you know, the casket match was pretty good.
They had a casket match?
They had a casket match with Apollo Crews and Grayson Waller. And Waller, dude, is unbelievable. Like super. I mean, I don't really watch NXT, so I don't. These guys are kind of new to me for the most part. But it was Apollo Crews and Waller. Waller looked really good, man. Like he's super athletic. He's got all the tools to be a really good pro wrestler, man. I'm looking forward to what they're going to do with that guy. But I was pretty surprised too at how good Apollo Crews looked. Like he looked like he was a lot more agile and a lot more flexible.
Probably looked like
and he did a really
belonged.
nice job. That was a good match. It was good. And then
Yeah, I can't say that I'm ever overly hyped now for these NXT shows, just because
they're worth giving it a shot again. They really are.
I'm surprised they had a casket match without the Undertaker.
Well, they did
thank-
Undertaker stuff in
thank-
the match.
Of
Thank
course
fuck.
they did.
Look, I mean,
piece of shit.
the only other things
Bobby Winters is a known hater of Undertaker.
I am. I mean, ugh. If anyone ever took so much and gave back so little over the course of a career, it's that dumb cunt right there. I wish somebody would lay him down and he wouldn't sit back up from it ever.
I mean,
again.
Lesnar almost did.
Hey, almost. But fucking come off it. Well, fucking Goldberg just about got him too, which would be the career highlight for fucking Goldberg. I hope he's not. I hope he's done. They're gonna bring him back. They're literally just gonna he's gonna look like a goddamn corpse next time they bring him back.
Holy shit.
That 3 strands that he's fucking slicking back. You know, the best thing to come from Undertaker was they finally gave me that CG Paul Bearer I wanted that one time. Talk about fucking scary.
Trick or treat.
Bobby Winters. This is the Undertaker. You will rest in peace.
Is that part of your list?
It's not part of. It's an honorable mention. CG Paul Bearer will be on my list, but CG Paul Bearer is honorable mention.
Speaking of spooky, they I don't know what the hell is going on in NXT right now where they rebranded Zach Gibson. Do you remember him? He did really well in that, like the NXT UK tournament.
Is that Robert's son?
You know what? Oh my God, is this a rib? Because what they did with Zach Gibson, they gave him
a cross-eyed gimmick.
Dude, they gave him one white contact.
Oh my God, they gave him a fucked up eye. It is.
Oh my God, dude, it's so bad.
That's
I don't even know what the hell his name is now. They changed his name. It's just like, what are we doing? Like, it was not good. If that's a rib, hats off.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Breaker, I mean, Braun Breaker's great. Breaker was really good in that event. That guy, I mean, he's fantastic.
He's gonna be their moneymaker eventually.
Yeah. So anyway, that was all I saw from that was really worth writing down.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, before we get started, Andretti and I just got done with the hot seat wrestling.
Yeah,
And-
tremendous show.
Thank you. And since you're on the Podski now, Bobby, we wanted to put you
Man.
on the hot seat.
Oh boy, I wasn't ready for this. Oh, I'm sweating. Is this common
you gotta-
around
look,
the hot
man,
seat?
You
Yeah.
always gotta be ready to jump in and grab the book because you never know when Tony Khan has an aneurysm or Triple H goes into cardiac arrest and they gotta grab somebody to do the book, man.
Yeah. All right.
We're putting our
Let's go.
we already
Fuck
put
it.
our credentials out on the internet, so they already know that was my interview and my
Yeah.
resume all in one.
Yeah. All right. Well, damn it.
All right.
I'll do it. Give me the
All right.
book.
All right, so what do you want to do here? We just want to do a singles match, or
Give him. I mean, look. Let's. God, I don't want to throw him into the fire too hard because you give him a triple threat, he can get a little hairy. But let's give him a singles. This will be like the
a
pre-show
singles
match.
gimmick, a pre-show match.
The
Give him a
pre-show
singles-
match to the Halloween Supershow podcast.
Okay, all right. Here's our pre-show match. Yeah, right. Your numbers are 26.
26. Okay.
So number 26 is Billy Gunn,
Oh yeah.
and 73. Number 73 is Christian. So we got a match that could happen today on television. We got
Damn.
Billy Gunn
Okay.
versus Christian.
Okay, I like
Man.
it.
Take the
Well,
book.
Yeah. I mean, I think, have we seen this like fucking 50 times? We're going to see it 51, and we're going to see it at Bloodshed on Battleground Avenue. And Battleground Avenue is a street. It's not a venue in Greensboro, North Carolina. So we're going to line the street with chairs.
For one match.
Capacity, damn near endless. You could, I mean, it's about a 5 mile stretch of street. And that's a good thing. Can this be a gimmick match?
Sure.
Good, because it's a King of the Road match, and it's
This
Billy
is only on your
Gunn.
pre-show.
Yeah, I want people to buy this shit. I'm trying to make some money off of it. I ain't trying to work every damn day anymore. Billy Gunn, Christian, King of the Road match, back of the truck. The King of the Road match, Christian already gets in Billy Gunn's head by mentioning how instead of being the King of the Road, he was once the King of the Ring, and it led to nothing because he pretty much fizzled that opportunity because they gave up on him partway through. Ultimately, this is a match of two guys that were the less popular of their tag team, and it's weighed down on them. And they've both gone on to have careers. Christian will cite his multiple world title wins. Billy Gunn will point out those were in TNA, so they don't really count, since it has a reach of about fucking 10 people, including Mr. Andretti here for a short stretch. You still watching?
You asked me if I'm
TNA?
watching TNA.
Yeah.
The only reason why I would watch TNA would be for me to just hate watch everybody on that stupid roster.
All right. I did enjoy when that guy got shot during that wedding.
How angry was that?
But no, it's a back and forth. One thing I do have to say is that the tax money in Greensboro doesn't go towards the road, so it's a bumpy ride. The ones that know. And if you've been down Battleground, you know it's bumpy. They're in that back of that 18-wheeler. They're making do. There's hay bales. There's a couple gimmicks laying around. What do you find in the back of a fucking truck? There's like a wrench, maybe comic-sized wrench, like fucking Kane hit Vader with. And they're both kind of wrestling for control of this wrench, because neither one of them have a very effective finisher. Honestly, so many people are kicked out of it that they know hit my finish ain't going to be enough. I need this goddamn wrench to put this man down.
This is going to be definitely on the HSW video game, because it's going to be, the graphics will be just like the bad dudes and the game, where they're on top of the 18-wheeler.
Yes, it's going to be that. And finally, Billy Gunn at the very end is going to be standing over Christian with that wrench in hand, and he's about to bring it down. When all of a sudden they hit that weird stretch on Battleground where there's fucking 5 red lights in a row. One of them catches Billy Gunn offhand because those red lights have a hair trigger on them. It jars him. He drops the wrench. Christian picks it up, sweeps his leg with it, plunges it right into his damn forehead. He might be dead, but he's at least down for a 3, and that's all we care about, because it's the pre-show. We cut after that for the rest of the package.
Love it.
That was an incredible pre-show match.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And now all the people on Battleground Avenue pull out their phones and put in their earphones, and then they listen to the rest of the podcast in silence.
Oh
Well,
my.
they got to do something while that ambulance is coming to collect Billy Gunn.
Oh my. All right. Well, that was a great segment of Hot Seat Wrestling.
Mhm.
And let's get into our list. So our list, we compiled around 5, and it's gonna be things of a spooky wrestling nature, and
Mhm.
there's been tons of those. We got personal stories that revolve around Halloween and wrestling, and we have actual um wrestlers that we're going to talk about too, probably at some point. Anything else that I didn't mention here that somebody's got on their list?
I mean, I had a couple like honorable mentions I just wanted to throw out there to give
Mhm.
people a
Mhm.
bone. I think we can do those at the end.
Sure,
Okay.
sure. All right. Well, who wants to go first? Who wants to give their number 5?
Shit, I'll jump in. I'm fresh off the bloodshed on Battleground. I just spoke with the police and assured them that he signed all the proper papers, that there's no fault on my end. So yeah, my top
Like any
5.
smart promoter would.
That's right. That's right. Hey, he's fucking independent contractor there. He knew the risks. But no, my number 5, it came from, and I don't know, you guys may have as wrestling fans. As a kid, maybe you dabbled in the old face paint a little bit, like your favorite wrestler, quite possibly. And my cousin and I would have just these insane in-house wrestling matches. Like in a bedroom, we would tilt like a fucking mattress on its like diagonal, and the key was to get on top of that thing, like I got like a little King of the Mountain, not like Jeff Jarrett King of the Mountain, but just a little King of the Mountain, tumble the other guy down. Of course, you know, as kids, it's one of those things where it starts off you're kind of working together, you're calling spots. It turns into a shoot pretty fucking quick though. Someone gets hurt. But one night we decided we're going to spice it up a little bit, spice it up in the bedroom.
Damn.
Nothing wrong with it. We've been going at this for a while. Sometimes you got to spice things up, a little role play. We decided to paint up. I was a Sting guy. Now, mind you, this is the very late 80s. I was a big Sting fan. Late 80s, maybe we turned to 90. So I was going to paint up like Sting. My cousin was going with an Ultimate Warrior appearance. A little more elaborate, honestly. And
did he blow up before he even got to the living room?
Yeah, blown up as hell. He had a lot of ideas about the gay community I didn't agree with. Just a lot of things. But no, we decided to paint up. The only thing is, when you're going to paint your face, you need some face paint, and we didn't have any. So our paint turned to what my mother had in her makeup cabinet.
All right.
And we're talking I went with a red from lipstick, basically. So just a little lipstick on my face, forehead. The white, there was like this what I think may have been like foundation, which was a little lighter, and I kind of went along with it. My cousin kind of followed suit. We basically both went in white and red face paint. If we had some red, if we had some blue, it could have been like a nice, Great American Bash or something like that.
Sure.
We had white and red, and my grandfather was watching us on this night, and yeah, he was a pretty rowdy fella himself. He had a lot of fucking memorable quotes. Most of them.
Did you paint his face?
We didn't paint him up. He was asleep.
I was hoping he was going to be the ref.
Yeah, I know. But no, and we, started fighting as usual, but found that that makeup got fucking everywhere. So he's like, all right, what are we gonna do here? What are we gonna do? And we tried like a powder, like there's some kind of powder. I don't know what it even fucking was. It was 80s makeup, God knows. If I have cancer now, it's probably because of that. But no, so we put on a little bit of that powder. It's still running everywhere. I draw back to a Nightmare on Elm Street making of video that I had watched not long before that, where they said to set things in, they put a gel over the makeup. It's like, okay, sure. I get a thing of Vaseline.
Oh my.
We put a thin layer of Vaseline. Yeah. Yeah. Whew. Yeah. The Podsky After Dark. We both put a thin layer Vaseline over our faces, and and just try then. Oh my God, it's even more of a mess. It's horrible. We're still fighting. Our door gets thrown open partway through, and my grandfather's standing there with this jar of Vaseline. That because I think I left it like by the bedroom door, maybe just kind of dropped it, and we started fucking fighting. And he holds it in his hand, and he takes a minute, like to survey what he's seeing, and all he says to us, he's like, I just wanted to make sure you boys weren't jerking each other off. And he turns around and leaves. Completely content with what's going on in there. That's fine. He just wanted to make a little visit, make sure things were on the up and up. And that's my number 5.
Oh,
Wow. What a run it.
Oh,
Yeah,
how much
tremendous.
How much makeup did you guys get all over the sink when you were doing this?
The sink, the bed, the floor, fucking it was on the fucking wall, everywhere. It was bad, but we got that shit cleaned up. It was a concentrated effort over the night. That was one of his terms to, I think, let it continue, was that we just clean that shit up before the night's over with.
So who won?
That's what we care about. Who pinned who?
If I remember, well, at this point in time, we were roughly the same age, but I had about a foot on him. So it
In length or height?
Huh?
In length or height?
Where it counted. And so I went over. I'm just going to say I went over on that one. It's revisionist history. I'm going to do the whole Hogan thing and say that I went over on that one.
Works for me, brother.
Love
That's
it.
it.
Love it. Let's hear it, Dut. What's your number 5?
Okay, so I'm also gonna go back in time here for my number 5. So when I was a kid, every wrestler at one point was my favorite wrestler, just like how every NFL team at one point was my favorite NFL team. So I for whatever reason, one year I decided I wanted to go as Tito Santana El Matador for Halloween. And I grew up in a heavily Caucasian community. Okay. And I don't know what happened where we decided we were going to go to a nearby neighborhood and trick or treat. I think that it was just a different night for them for trick or treating than it was in my neighborhood. So we went like up the road to this other community to do trick or treat. Now, keep in mind, guys, this is rural America. It's rural white America, right? So
making towns.
I was like 2 or 3 houses down from my buddy Jason's house, and I'm like 11 years old, man, 10 or 11 years old, somewhere around there. And I was dressed as El Matador, okay? And I went into this old woman's house. It was her and her husband. I hope they're both dead. But I went in there, and the woman asked my buddy Jason, oh, what are you supposed to be or whatever? And I don't even know what he was, but then she asked me, and I told her El Matador, and she goes, you're a Matador. I go, no, I'm El Matador, and I'm already getting hot, dude. Like, how do you not know who Tito Santana is, right? Number one. So I'm already getting a little irritated, and she goes, well, she looks at me up and down and goes, well, you don't look very Mexican. And I was like, I'm gonna just DDT this one right here in the middle of the floor. And I left. I walked out of the house. I was so irritated. She didn't know who I was.
You didn't go for the flying forearm.
I didn't go for the flying forearm, dude. I should have. But I was so annoyed she didn't know who Tito Santana was that I just walked out of
the house. I love it.
Lady, I don't know who you are. I don't even remember exactly what house you were in, but I hope you had a horrible life.
Yeah, go to hell. Baker, what you got?
So my number 5 is good friend of the show, Teddy Mongoose.
Speaking, not a good friend of the show. Speak for yourself, though.
I would have said okay, friend of the show.
Okay, friend of the show. So in our original group chat, the bros chat, we end up having a brosmas every year, and we just do a gift exchange with everybody in the group, and we get together, and it always ends up we watch just the worst wrestling matches you could possibly imagine. And just come together for some fellowship and some wrestling. And my brother-in-law is in that group, and every single year we've done this, he has received a Braun Strowman goat mask from Teddy every single year. So now my brother-in-law has accrued 4 masks, one for him and each one of his kids. And so what ends up happening is that my brother-in-law, he'll take the masks, he puts them on, and then he'll just come and sit in the house. So he's just him just sitting there rocking in the chair. And then they're like, take the mask off. And he takes the mask off, and there's another mask. And then he does the whole gimmick where he takes the mask off until it's him. So we have them housed in our garage gym, a holy trinity of the Braun Strowman goat masks.
Jesus.
Yep. And I have a feeling that, there is a lot more where that came from. And he's going to be the proud owner of probably about 15 of them by the end of this.
Mongoose sent me one for Christmas.
I got one too.
How does he have so many of these?
Well, because they're like $1 on the shop whenever you go to, well, probably not anymore because it's on Fanatics, but whenever they do their, the shop would have the Black Friday sale, you can get stuff on there so cheap. Like a couple years ago, everybody got a Money in the Bank lunchbox from me.
And we probably also should say that Mongoose is a frequent flyer on the shop WWE clearance rack.
Yeah. Oh, you absolutely should be a clearance rack shopper for.
He buys every shirt.
Yeah, that's like $2.
Doesn't matter who it is.
Yeah. It's great. He has a great collection of
one of you. Who bought me the Lars Sullivan shirt that I have on right now?
Probably
Who the hell
Teddy.
do you think bought it? Vivid Video bought it and they sent it to you.
God, man, I've paid for enough of their fucking movies. It's about goddamn time they send me something.
That's the repayment for buying the Sunny one, isn't it?
Jesus.
Yeah, you get through that and win a prize. I'll tell you that much.
That's a fucking Those sunny days are awful goddamn dark. Number 4.
Yeah, let's hear your
I mean, we were talking about something, but that segued into something scary enough as it is. But mine was it's both the wrestler and the memories tied to it is Papa Shango. For those who have been watching, of course, Papa Shango would better be known as a Godfather much later on. But he came into the WWF with this fucking voodoo gimmick. With he's a big guy, the bald head, the skull painted face, the whole voodoo thing. And man, it was some kids in my school. I was at that point where I was kind of starting to doubt the legitimacy of what was occurring, but I was still in just enough to where I was very concerned. And he had targeted the Ultimate Warrior, and God damn it, when he had the Ultimate Warrior throwing up pea soup or whatever the hell that was, I was scared to death for him. He set some jobber's shoes on fire one time. I don't know if that was symbolic or something or not. I don't know.
No, it was nice to see somebody make the Ultimate Warrior throw up after he made us throw up so many times.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, you've made us sick many a time. Papa Shango is going to get a little revenge. But no, that whole gimmick, I think that may have been, and this is an honorable mention, that and the Great Muta may have been the last 2 gimmicks that really concerned me. Didn't scare me so much. It's just, I was very concerned for anybody that was facing them. Which, I mean, if you're facing Papa Shango, I don't know what the worst that can happen is. His fucking finisher was the damn shoulder breaker, wasn't it? I mean, you're not going to be hurting you're not going to be hurting too bad by the end of that match. You can just ice that up and you'll be fine. But aside from the whole presentation, my uncle Tim was a big wrestling fan. He was heavily watching about this time. He was a lot older than me, but he was like, that cool uncle that would fucking take us to the shows. I knew he was always watching wrestling, so if I came over there, I'd watch wrestling too. And he would always refer to him as Papa Shango. And it just as a kid, it ate me alive. It still does to this day when someone mispronounces something over and over again. But he would just keep calling him Papa Shango. And man, we had he had a buddy named Sean that would come over every now and then, watch wrestling, fucking play cards with him. He lived, kind of down the street. And every now and then I would correct him. And I said, it's Shango. And since he had a friend named Sean, he said, Shango, where? I hadn't seen him. Is he here? And it would fucking eat me alive. It would goddamn make my blood boil. The ones he's mispronounced it. And two, when I try to correct him, he turns into some damn play on words and plays dumb. And I'm getting hot. I'm getting shoot hot right now. And I was as a kid just sitting there, boy, what am I going to do? I can't whip this person fucking in their damn 20s. So it's like, so all I heard over and over again was Papa Shango. Whenever I say Shango, I said, Shango where? I ain't seen him. I didn't know he was here. And it's like, oh, that's number 4. It's part the wrestler and part the goddamn anger and frustration that apparently I've carried with me today and bottled up.
We're here to listen.
And bottled up inside. That may
got my hand on your shoulder right now, man. Let it out. It's all
Thank
good.
you. Which one's on my ass though?
The other hand.
Okay. All right. I didn't know if it was you or Baker, but it's a gentle hand and I appreciate it.
I mean, how great is it that Vince McMahon would never watch movies, but every time he would watch a movie, he would steal a character.
Yeah.
And they lifted that right from the James Bond movie.
Oh, for sure.
The Live and Let Die, which is awesome. I mean, the character's fantastic, and then obviously you got Demolition from Road Warrior, from Mad Max. I mean, how funny is that? I mean, every time the guy watches a movie or two, he steals a character.
But man, yeah, that's it. Number 4.
I gotta give Godfather some props here too for being such a good sport with the Laurel Highlands Pizza Wars, man. I mean, that dude is a
great guy.
Pizza Wars Hall of Famer. He went above and beyond with those promos to help with the Laurel Highlands Pizza Wars. That was awesome.
Unlike some.
Yeah, I mean, Steamboat did
Steamboat,
okay. Whatever.
Man.
Luigi.
Fucking stink boat.
That's money from Steamboat I'm never going to get back.
No. His wife's already spent that.
which was better than the 2 Buff Bagwell cameos that I got.
Oh, those are bad too.
The first one was so bad I couldn't even finish watching it, and then the second one where he tried to quote unquote redo it, which was just a human being laying in a backyard at night, passed out, and all I could see was the side of the house.
How about SRS never fulfilling your cameo?
Sean Ross Sapp, dude, what a jerk this guy is, man. I mean, I thought that was going to be a really funny cameo for you for your birthday. And that dude never responded. I even sent him a message, which I paid $3 to send through Cameo, to give him shit and be like, what's the fucking update here, dude?
That's why you don't pay Fightful Select. You pay for Uncle Daddy Dave Meltzer. And actually, I don't even pay for it. Teddy pays for it.
Well, I mean, you give your money where you're going to get value. But Sean Ross Sapp, you got heat with me forever, man. You ruined my friend's birthday.
Yeah, ruined it. Asshole. All right. What's your number 4, Dut?
Okay, what do I got here for number 4? Excuse me. All right, number 4, I've got. Oh, this is a good one, guys. Halloween Havoc 1993.
Ooh,
The opening video, the haunted house, Tony Schiavone's haunted house mini movie.
Oh my god,
dude! I watched this again last night just to do a little homework on this episode.
Yeah.
It is so awesome, dude. I mean, we all talk a bunch of shit about like the cinematic stuff now with WWE and all the goofy stuff that doesn't make any logical sense. But I mean, dude, this stuff has been going on forever in wrestling. I mean, at least as far back as the early 90s. I mean, you've got a bunch of little kids in a cinematic movie looking for a scare and looking for candy, and they go into a haunted mansion owned by Tony Schiavone. Who's cooking his wife in the oven. Okay. So then they go up there. The kid, the Dracula kid, the vampire kid was obviously a paid actor, who was a little over the top. But then the kid in the sting paint, definitely not a paid actor. I don't know who the hell's son that was. The kid, I hope you didn't get into acting because you're not very good. But the other ones were probably paid actors. But I mean, they go
was that before Bischoff's time?
93 would have been, right? Or is it right? I mean, Bischoff might have been like the backstage guy at that point where he was doing the interviews.
I was going to say, because I know that Garrett did a lot of stuff backstage before. Like
could
they
be.
would just throw Garrett out there a lot of times.
Well, he would have been that age, right? I mean, he would have been probably like a 10-year-old kid in '93. So maybe it was him. Anyway, so the kids go into Shivani's house, and Shivani's playing it pretty straight. He's like a supernatural Tony Schiavone, which is everything I've ever wanted in my life. And then he asks the kids, he's like, "Hey, do you want to see something really scary?" And he rips off his face, and he's a big like troll goat monster, and the kids run away. And I stood up and clapped in my living room.
Standing ovation for Uncle Schiavone.
Bravo, dude. And then that went right into the show where they had a maroon mat for no reason.
Yes. Oh, I hated that show. I hated watching that show.
And then one of the middle rope was like black and orange for some reason.
Oh, I hated watching that show. Isn't that the one with Sid? Is that Sid and Sting?
Yes.
Oh, that show. I actually hated watching that show.
Actually, is it Sid and Sting? I'm getting confused now because I watched a couple Halloween Havocs last night. I had a little bit to drink last night, so I'm trying to think which one it is. But I mean, either way, whether it is or it isn't, that the mat and the ropes was really bad for whatever show that was. Yeah.
All right. Awesome. My number 4 is comes from 2002 when our good buddy Kane comes back and he has the half mask. And this is when I believed everything. It was still real to me. And Kane was just, they didn't do the Katie Vick stuff, which we won't dive into. But he was facing Triple H. Triple H had been doing the whole the Evolution gimmick. They were all back and together because I know that Batista and Randy both had got hurt and went away and came back. And this was like the full group, I believe. And they were going to do a Monday Night Raw where it was going to be Triple H World Heavyweight title versus Kane's mask. And Kane was kind of like on a tear. He didn't want to unmask because he was the Big Red Machine. He was with RVD in a tag team. Love this whole era. And because Triple H is my guy, because my pronouns is Triple H all day long. We all know that Andretti's is Heart Savage. What are your pronouns, Billy?
I forgot to say that at the beginning. Yeah.
Billy, what's your pronouns?
Well, that's tough. They used to be Flair, but goddamn, it's hard. It's getting tougher. It's getting tougher to go by that. I'm having to rethink it. Especially, goddamn, that one match that could go down as one fucking scary shit, couldn't it?
Yeah, that could be an honorable mention.
Yeah, it's like the fucking Passion of the Christ watching that thing. I'll have to think of my pronouns. I'm fucking wrestler fluid right now, to be honest with you.
So all right, so back into it. So the Triple H, they have the mask there, they have the match, and Kane is, fighting his way back. They're doing the big hope spot, and then Triple H ends up winning because he cheats to win with Flair, and Kane has to unmask. And it's one of the damnedest things you ever want to see because I thought it was scary to me. But you guys knowing at the age of you were, because you guys are a little bit older than I am, Kane goes to the one side of the ring, pulls the mask off to a half-shaven head and black paint on the top half of his face, and he turns around and he looks like a complete monster. He looks ridiculous and terrifying.
I think I was more curious. I knew who it was at this point in time.
I didn't know.
It was fake Diesel, but I was interested in what the presentation was going to be because there was like hot rumor that went around many times over if they were going to like invest in these like movie quality fucking prosthetics.
I remember that too. I remember all that too.
Yeah. And there was the maximum sweat Kane figure that you could take the mask off.
But you had to pull it off with on your own. Like it didn't come off, right?
It would come off. I can't remember how easy it was originally, but it was basically an Undertaker face with these heavy burns on it. So, and WrestleMania 2000, the video game, you could take the mask off of them. It was just like this charred black face underneath.
Wow.
So for me, it was like a lot of mystery. I popped for the fact that I did not know the fucking hair for that man. I mean, that was his hair throughout his career up till that
Yeah.
point.
It was his real hair, and then when
They
he
fucking-
unmasked, it was
they-
fake hair.
They
Yeah.
popped me to the moon. That the
Really?
fucking that hair was sewn into the mask.
Bobby, do you remember the Cobra Commander that came out with the clear mask over his face?
Yes.
So you had to rip that clear mask off to see Cobra Commander's face, which every kid did. I thought that was the way the Maximum Sweat was, where you had to pry that thing off on your own to see underneath it.
It's hard. I cannot recall because I got the thing off there, and you could attach it and reattach it easy. I can't remember initially.
I can't remember either.
The level of difficulty with that, but yeah, it was awesome. But he had the eye black that he would wear, and it had smeared over the course of the match. It was still pretty incredible reveal.
Trick or treat.
Mr. Andretti, this is Kane. I am gonna kick your ass for taking off my mask. Screw you.
Because I remember whenever I didn't get to watch this live. I was so intrigued, but I had to go to my grandmother's on Monday night, and so I didn't get to see it because they didn't have cable. So I had to wait until I could get home to go to WWE.com, fire up the old dial-up back in the day, take up all of the worst possible internet coverage you could possibly get. I had to fire up WWE.com to see if Kane unmasked, and that's how I found out that he unmasked. And then you could watch the replay, and it was terrifying. I was absolutely terrified. But yeah, and then he ended up being like this dastardly monster with the completely shaven head and the two different colored eyes and the towel over his head, and they shackled him and brought him to the ring the next week. Like, it was a hell of a presentation. I absolutely believed it, and it's one of my favorite things that have ever happened in wrestling, just because of the time frame where I believed everything.
You know, I would almost say that they did a better job with Kane than what they did with The Undertaker. Because The Undertaker,
for sure.
look, we've talked about this ad nauseum, the three of us, but The Undertaker's one of my least favorite characters and people in wrestling for a long time, you know, but that character could have very easily been just as bad as TL Hopper, dude. I mean, it's so stupid. The Undertaker gimmick is so stupid. But the thing with Kane was that I actually feel like they did a better job with all the Kane stuff than they did even with the Undertaker, even though those characters are obviously tied together.
Mm-hmm. I'm not a big
The Undertaker's name was Kane when he first came in.
Right. Yeah, and I don't hate Undertaker. I don't like. Obviously, everything about Undertaker is good that happened post Ministry of Darkness. For me, especially whenever he became the American Badass. The American Badass is the best Undertaker.
I actually agree with you on that. I think that was the best he's ever been. Was when he was on the bike. And I know. Look, everybody's going to disagree with that. Everybody's got their own opinion, but I don't
care. I'll fight him.
When he became
the
biker, that was my favorite version of him.
Yeah, it's bar none the best one, especially whenever he went short hair with the bandana on the bike, the best. But those Smackdown, and that's obviously my wheelhouse of like what I love from wrestling, because that was my childhood. But anybody else that thinks that all that Undertaker stuff, whenever he's carving the casket for Kamala and all that Undertaker sucks.
That casket for Kamala only has to be about 3 feet long, doesn't it?
Oh God.
I'm sorry. I would
my.
have contributed. I was looking at that Hikaru Shida fucking Instagram. She posted something looked like she just got worn out. But
She got worn out reading too many heavy animes.
I don't know. She got worn out. But fucking is it number 3?
Yes, sir.
Is that where we're at?
Alright.
Number 3?
Yep, we're on number 3.
Number 3, we're going to have to go. We're going back to 1998.
Ooh.
And I would, on occasion, help out a buddy of mine and do a little color commentary for his independent wrestling organization. It was AIWF, and they ran out of Mount Airy, North Carolina. And this time, for this show, we were in Elkin, North Carolina, National Guard Armory. Of course, it's a fucking armory, right?
That's what you guys got down there for shows.
Yeah, that's it. And this was a big Halloween. This is fucking Halloween Fright Night 98. And stack card. By that I mean they brought Ricky Morton in for it. It's a stacked independent card in North Carolina. You bring Ricky Morton in for it. They paid the $150 or so to get him to come in. And so, along with being a Halloween themed, the organization would run these shows called Extreme Content because it's 1998, right? Fucking, you gotta have the word fucking extreme in there. And these were shows that were like, you saw that, you knew not to bring your fucking kids, but you fucking would anyway. But you knew that the gimmick matches are going to be a little more violent. There's going to be a little more blood. There's going to be some fucking language, a lot of it. And this night was the first one of those. And myself and the other announcer at the time, we were like, all right, we got to start this show off. A video of this exists. I've tried to track it down. I'm actually going to have to go back and get it off the original fucking VHS to bring up.
Oh,
but
please. Give it to us.
But we decided we're going to kick the show off. We're going to set the tone. We got a costume up. And what better at the time, 1998, their 4th album was out. It was fucking phenomenal. We fucking dressed up as the Insane Clown Posse. Face paint, these fucking dreadlock wigs that were like sewn into our fucking hair.
You said this was last weekend?
Yeah. This is every weekend. But and we went out and actually fucking did one of their songs. Fucking just, we got a guy with all the best 1998 technology to take the vocals out as much as he could. We rapped over it to introduce the show. It's great. The show was actually maybe one of the better independent shows I've attended. Like it was a pretty phenomenal show, top to bottom. But
is Dan Barry booked?
I don't think he was, but we had a couple of masked guys though. So you know who those guys are. They're such workers. They don't talk. They don't reveal themselves. Let's say he was that one guy.
Perfect.
This is after the show. I'm in the bathroom. I'm trying to get this fucking paint off. And like my first story, this is legitimate paint that is tough to get off. And I'm in the sink. I'm fucking scrubbing. I got fucking 2 bars of soap. I'm working through it. I am resolved to the fact that I'm not going to get all this off of me tonight. I'm going to do this. I'm going to go home, hit the shower. This is going to be a couple days worth of work. But while my face is down in the sink, I noticed somebody stepped up. Somebody's at the sink next to me. I look up and it's goddamn Ricky Morton. Ricky Morton had fought for the world title that night, had won it. He was
quote unquote world title.
Well, some people, for people in small town North Carolina, I mean, that town they're in is their entire world. They don't venture out of it. So world title, he won it, but it was like a dusty finish in favor of the face this time. So Ricky ended up not getting that title that night. But he bled like a fucking stuck hog. He's in the bathroom, face down the sink, also washing off. He's got this little cut over his head, and he's just he can't get to stop bleeding. Like it's like a slow trickle. And of course, Ricky Morton, if you've seen his gear in the 80s, it's the same as fucking gear now. I don't think it's ever changed. It's just bandanas like tied all over his goddamn tights, tied all over his fucking arms. He's tossing bandanas out to the fucking crowd. Fucking, he's got a bandana on his head. They're everywhere. And he looks at me and he's like, God damn, can't get this thing stop bleeding. And he lets out this big, I'm gonna have to put a bandana on this shit. Takes a bandana off from his damn tights, ties it tight around his forehead, walks out of the bathroom.
Not a band-aid, but a bandana.
I'm going to put a bandana on this shit. and it was a phenomenal interaction. It was a very surreal interaction. But yeah, that was number 3. That was the time I shared a bathroom with Ricky Morton in the Elkin National Guard Armory.
The first time.
Yeah, the first time. And it wasn't the only time involving blood, I'll tell you that.
Was that one of the times you met the freight train at an indie show? In
that motherfucker.
Or Man Scout.
Keep going. Next guy. Next one of you.
Who's up? Is it my turn?
Yep, your turn.
We're going on touchy territory right now. Keep going.
Oh, okay. Here we go. I got this is number 3, right?
Yeah.
Yep, number 3.
Okay, number 3. All right, what do I got here? Okay. Sting.
Who is
What would
that?
you say if I abducted a 14-year-old girl right here at Halloween Havoc?
Jerry Lawler.
I
Is that the
watched
king?
puppies. No, I watched Halloween Havoc 90 last night. Black Scorpion abducts a 14-year-old girl out of the crowd. So
Hell yeah.
I mean, it's so cringe, and I laughed so hard every time I see it now. It's so bad. The Black Scorpion, everything about it is some of the greatest stuff in wrestling history. We all know that. But the dude comes out, interrupts Shivani, who's in a hat in a Phantom of the Opera gimmick, with like the half face. But of course, Tony's got like the half face facing the damn camera, so he looks like an idiot. Sting is in a horrible robe, gold and black robe that's real bad. He's way over the top with everything that he's saying. And Sting, I mean, look, man, I love Sting too when I was a little kid. You go back and watch that stuff now, it's not the greatest stuff you've ever seen in your life. Let's put it that way. But, it happens pretty early in the show at Havoc 1990, where all of a sudden the Black Scorpion starts yelling for Sting, and then he shows up in the background, grabs a 14-year-old girl out of the crowd, drags her behind a screen where no one can see it. They disappear. And then about 5 seconds later, the Black Scorpion and the 14-year-old girl run in from the other side of the screen. And he pushes her to Sting. She jumps off the platform. Sting catches her, sets her down. She runs off camera, never to be seen or heard from again. We don't know if that girl has gone through any kind of psychiatric evaluation. We don't know if she's had any kind of trauma the rest of her life by being abducted by Ole Anderson in a black hood. So
How many people ever survived that?
Black Scorpion abducts a 14-year-old girl out of the crowd is my number 3.
Tremendous.
Wow. Speaking of abductions, my number 3 is also an abduction.
Hang on. That show, Baker, that show, Halloween Havoc 1990 is the same show where Stan Hansen yells at a pumpkin.
The hits keep coming that night.
I might have to watch that one. I've never watched that one. But yeah, my number 3 also involves an abduction. My bachelor party, we went to.
I like where this is headed.
Yeah, so my bachelor party, we went to Pittsburgh, and we were going to go out to. I had no idea this was happening. I was blindfolded until we got to our venue. So.
That's my first time leaving Shippensburg.
So we made it out to Pittsburgh, and where we watched the Crown Jewel, where that was the same day that Crown Jewel happened, where Goldberg and Undertaker nearly killed each other. Where Goldberg concussed himself. Yeah, Goldberg concussed himself seconds into the match.
It's a star match.
Yes. And so then the next day we go, I have no idea what we're doing. They just said, we're not telling you, you're getting blindfolded. So we get an Uber, and apparently we're going to McKeesport. So if you know McKeesport is a bad area outside of Pittsburgh. And the Uber driver was concerned to the point where she pulled over and said, are you seriously going to McKeesport? And they all said, yeah. Like, it's totally cool. Like we're totally fine. And then they then they ended up telling her, like whispering to her, like what we were doing. And she was like, wow. Like she didn't even really have where she's supposed to have a good time. So what happens is I get out of the car, take off my blindfold. We're at an old rundown church and we're we were at PWX Fight Society for a indie show. And this show, Dut and I watched this show before we did the trek up to Long Island. And I remember it to be a much better show than what it was. And in the very opening of the show, they abduct this guy that had face paint. They abducted this girl that was on the roster, and then they ended up coming out, and I can't even remember what happened anymore.
I mean, right there's a life lesson for all wrestling fans. If you go to an indie show and you have a really good time and you think it's awesome, don't ever watch it again.
Yeah.
Leave the memories alone.
Yes. Yeah, because I remember like that was one of the most fun things like I that I've ever done was go to this show. We sat on stadium seating from like an old stadium. They're probably from the old PNC Park. And like the seats broke halfway through. So we ended up doing a wall sit for like the rest of the show. And but yeah, the girl was abducted in the very beginning of the show. And I think Shirley Doe. I think that's who saved her. He was also another guy that had his face painted. But yeah, that's my number 3.
I remember watching that with you at Mongoose's house before we went up to Long Island. And that was painful to sit through, man. I mean, it was funny because you were laughing. You were like, "This is awesome! I remember how awesome this was," and it was fun in that kind of context. But
we were front row seating,
dude. I don't need to see a girl get abducted at an indie show, because at an indie show that might be real sex trafficking at an indie show, and I don't need to be part of that in McKeesport.
Oh my! But yep, that's my number 3. Let's move on to number 2. What do you got? We got beautiful Bobby.
Well, I can't continue the streak of abductions, unfortunately. So it dies at 2. This is another memory. This is about the same time, around late 90s, early 2000s. Buddy of mine ran a wrestling merchandise store in Eden, North Carolina, and he opened one up in Collinsville, Virginia. And
is it called High Spots?
No.
Is it still open?
With them, we would have. We would have abduction stories. We would have abduction stories if we were talking High Spots and RF video and whatnot.
Oh God!
I said there was none of those in this story here, but everyone here is of age in this story. But my buddy opened a store in Collinsville, Virginia. This was my high school job. Like I would put in like 4 hours most days after school, and a store in Collinsville, Virginia, working there for a little bit. I've got a ton of stories about this store, but I'll regale you with this one here. I'll just say this: I learned this much from working in a store in Collinsville, Virginia. Never open a store in Collinsville, Virginia. I spent most of my time playing fucking WWF WrestleFest. We had the arcade game there, thank God, and occasionally waiting on a customer.
Is WrestleFest the one where everybody's like 375? They're real thick.
Basically, yes. Yes.
They all look like Ted City in the ring.
Everybody has a 6-pack. Everybody. But
wow.
This is we're talking the grand opening, and for the grand opening, several things were going on. It was actually pretty packed that day. There was like punch, there was fucking cake, there were 2 cakes. I would like I'll state that because that comes into play again later.
Okay.
And Native American Tatanka was there.
No.
In a suit. There for the meet and greet. He was there. My buddy who owned the store, really tall fella, he's pushing about 6'8", 6'9", jumped into a homemade cane costume to meet and greet people. It was decided all the staff, which is only like 3 or 4 of us, was going to be in costume.
What an atmosphere.
And I was left with a couple options, and I went with one. He had brought Dustin Rhodes in for an autograph signing at his Eden store, and Dustin had given him like this rain worn fucking Gold Dust outfit because it was a little torn up. You know, he wasn't, it couldn't be repaired, and it was on display in the Collinsville store. And he said, "Why don't you fucking throw that thing on?" I said, "Okay."
Popped into the same skin as a rose.
Because it's pretty fucking cool. And so I throw that on. And one thing I noticed was that he that's a big guy. He's what, 6'6", maybe? He weighs a lot more than me. So it's a little baggy. It's a little baggy. You know, when he wears it's kind of skin tight. On me, it's not. It's like I got a fucking gold trash bag on. And so I throw on like the Gold Dust. I don't even paint up. I throw on that Gold Dust mask that looks fucking terrible.
Yeah.
And I'm going around in that thing, and it all goes well. Aside from the fact that he abandoned this costume because the crotch was blown out, and I mean fucking blown out to hell.
Did anybody was Marlena there?
There's a lot of ladies smoking, but I think they're just smoking like fucking Reds. They were Marlboro Reds. There's no classy ladies smoking cigars in Collinsville, Virginia. But no, if you called for Marlena, you probably would have gotten an assortment of blondes, you know, probably with fucking black eyes and shit like that. But no, I'm wearing this thing, and I learned more and more just how fucking blown out this crotch is. And this comes at a time where I'm a pretty firm boxer brief wearer now, but I was like an all boxer guy there in my mid-teens. And some of those boxers over the course of the day, you wear those things and fucking there's stuff hanging out. So I don't know how many people saw my damn dick dangling out of that Gold Dust costume over the course of the day. I'm gonna say many, because God knows I saw it a few times over the course of the day. There's a lot of adjusting that had to be made. No one said anything, so either everyone was very impressed or very full of pity, one or the other. But no one ever said anything as I traipsed around in that Gold Dust costume. And a special aside, when he left, one of those cakes was about half eaten. Native American Tatanka took the other fucking cake, put it in the backseat of his car, and left.
Man.
Yeah.
Was it for him, his people, or was it for him?
No, it's a grand opening celebration cake.
No, when Tatanka took the cake, did he take it back to his people?
All I know is
a hell of a drive. What's the closest reservation to Collinsville, North Carolina?
Not far.
It's West Virginia, not even North Carolina.
No, we're in Virginia, so it's not far. I don't know, but yeah, he was spotted taking a goddamn whole cake with him.
Can I
mean that may have been his pay. I don't know.
Beautiful Bobby, I gotta ask this question because there's you know, as a former coach, you know, Baker as a former athlete will attest to this too. You know, being in the film room a lot, you look for patterns of behavior, right? You look for patterns in the film.
Yeah.
What is it with people and you and cake, dude?
I can't tell you. I don't know. It's a blessing and a curse.
Tell that story real quick about coming home from work. You got to give. I shouldn't have opened up that bag, but now you got to give.
Man, I just cooled down from this. You're poking the hornet's nest, and I guess everybody's about to get fucking stung, aren't they? This has nothing to do with the theme. Well, I don't know. It's pretty fucking scary that people can be this fucking ignorant. I do a traveling job. I work different towns. You know, I make those towns every 3 months. I swap out. I was in Green.
Put the time in on the road, dude. That's what it is.
You gotta put the time in. You gotta show up. You come into the territory hot, you go out on your back. That's how I do it. But I got a call from the guy I was renting a place from. He stayed there. I only saw him if I worked the weekends because he worked the weekends too. So it was like once a month. And I worked 9 a.m., 9 p.m. And I hated this fucking job. Hated it with a passion. And he got off at 1 p.m. that day. I got off at 9. I'm coming home. He shoots me a text. Hey, Billy, can you do me a favor? And I was like, what did I do? I fucked up around the house. What did I do? He's like, can you swing by the Harris Teeter and pick up one of those whole chocolate cakes? I was like, what the fuck? You've been off since goddamn 1. I just got off at 9. I'm just coming home. I'm fucking tired. You work 8-hour shift.
I don't know
didn't
why Harris
He
Teeter.
did- he didn't even-
Harris,
he
Harris
worked-
Teeter is such an underrated store.
He
by
worked
the way.
6 hours that day. I worked a full 12. And he couldn't get off his ass. And God knowing that there was a whole cake there the day before that. He ate that entire fucking cake and he wanted another one that day. I told him,
He
man,
ate the whole cake, and then wanted you to get another one.
yeah, there's a whole cake there the day before that.
Oh my God.
Yeah, because when I got home Thursday night, that cake was there. And he wanted another one on Friday night. Whole cake.
Is that okay? So I've never had the chocolate cake from the Harris Teeter. I've had chocolate cake from Giant Eagle and Bilo and places like that. But how's the chocolate cake to Harris Teeter? Is it worth?
Well, I wouldn't know because I never got any. This fucker ate the whole thing every time. He Tatanka that goddamn cake, took it all for himself.
I
Went
hope
into business
Tatanka,
for
I hope
himself.
Tatanka peeled out of that parking lot and left a trail of smoke and a trail of tire all the way down the street.
Oh, he didn't leave slow. I'll tell you that much. But yeah, that's my number 2 was my damn dick hanging out of a gold dust costume and Tatanka, Native American Tatanka.
I don't even know how we topped that. How's that not number 1?
Well, here's
I guess,
the
I
good
guess
one.
somebody needs to get their dick and ass out. I guess that's the only way to top it.
I mean, this is going to transition right into mine because it involves a grocery store and pastry. So, or at least baked goods. So, okay, so this is probably like I'm going to say probably like somewhere around like 2007, 2008, somewhere around there. I am living in Dallas. Specifically, I'm in the Euless area. Okay, Euless Yacht Club. Shout out! It's one of the best bars, quote unquote, best bars in the world. So I'm in Euless, and it's me, Nasty Noah, and my buddy Ross, who now is playing Boy Scout somewhere in Northern California. Nobody's seen him or heard from him in years. I don't even know if that dude's still alive. But so we're in an Albertsons in Euless, and those guys, Ross and his brother Rick, they used to go to World Class at the Sportatorium growing up, and they would always tell me a lot of really crazy stories about like Abdul the Butcher and the Von Erichs and all that. And look, I got Von Erich stories I don't even want to tell you on here, but they used to go there all the time and see all these wrestlers, and obviously one of the guys that was kind of a guy in World Class was the Angel of Death, right? So we ran into this dude. This is like 10 o'clock at night. We ran into the Angel of Death in the Albertsons in Euless, and we walk in there. I have no idea who the hell the guy even is, because I mean, I haven't seen hadn't seen World Class at that. It's 30 years removed, right? So I have no idea who the hell the guy even is. So Ross taps me on the shoulder when we're walking in, and he goes, "Holy fuck!" And I'm like, "What?" He goes, "That's a fucking Angel of Death." And I'm like, what are you talking about? So I look over and I'm like, holy shit, that really is him. He's like with some other guy, right? And they're in the checkout line. And we go over and he's like, I gotta fuck with him. And I'm like, dude, don't fuck. This guy looks like he's on his deathbed, right? I'm like, don't start fucking with the Angel of Death in the checkout line. So he's laughing real hard. He's like, no, I'm gonna do it. So he goes over to the Angel of Death and gets behind him and goes, hey, you the Angel of Death? And the guy goes, yeah. And Ross goes, smell like Updog in here?
Oh,
And the Angel of Death goes, what?
no.
Does it smell like Updog? What? Oh, come on. It smells weird in here. Does it smell like Updog? What are you talking about? And Ross is like, just stuck with it, doubled down. Does it smell like Updog?
Damn.
And the other guy has no idea either. The other guy's like, what are you doing? Like, what are you talking about? And I'm dead. I'm doubled over laughing. Nasty Noah's doubled over laughing, and Ross is playing it straight, and he just stuck with it. He didn't break kayfabe.
You got to commit. You got to stick to the gimmick.
He's like, come on, man. What's that smell? It smells really weird in here. Does it smell like Updog? And the Angel of Death is like, dude, I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. And then they left. we never got the punchline, but we did laugh our ass off. And then Noah, we're crying laughing, right? So Noah walks over to the place where they've got like cookies behind like a in like a glass enclosure, right? Where you've got you get like 5 cookies for $1 or whatever it is, right? And Noah,
5 cookies for $1.
I mean, dude, this was 15 years ago. So Noah reaches into the cabinet and just starts eating cookies. And he comes over to me and he goes, "Hey, they got cookies over there." I go, "Dude, they're fucking for sale. Dude, they're not free samples." And his eyes got like as big as you've ever seen eyes get big in your life. The dude had eaten like 25 cookies out of that case, thinking they were free samples.
I mean, that's only $5 though.
Yeah, I get it. But then we got out of there, and that was the story of running into the
Jesus
world-class veteran, the angel of death of the Albertsons.
Oh my, that's great.
I mean, I got a question off that story.
Sure.
What's up, dog?
Huh?
What's up, dog?
What?
God. Fucking Angel of Death knew what it was. He knew what was going on. He stonewalled that kid on purpose.
Oh man. All right. Mine my number 2 is a wrestler. Got his face painted. He's very nice. He's very evil. It's Danhausen.
Oh yeah.
I love Danhausen. He is fantastic. If you don't know who Danhausen is, you can see him on AEW some weeks. Who knows with the booking anymore? But I love Danhausen, and he did a match with PB Smooth. Shout out to Trigger Trey. He loves PB Smooth.
Mm-hmm.
And they had a match in a bar where Danhausen ended up on top of the bar dancing to Tequila, but he also got his ass beat in that match to PB Smooth. But that is where the famous Danhausen Tequila comes from, is from that match. And I would encourage everyone to head to YouTube to look up the Danhausen Tequila, and you'll find him doing his dance. And he's doing a dance, but he's doing the match with PB Smooth at the same time. It is a great watch. And that is my wrestling match gift of the week to our listeners. It's on YouTube. You can find it. And just a huge shout out to Danhausen. He always has a place here on the pods.
Trick or treat!
Ah, yes, Danhausen here. I'd like to thank the Podski. Very nice, very evil podcast happening right now of some sorts. But want to remind everyone to rate, review, subscribe, or be cursed.
All right, so now we are here for this is what we came for, the big number 1.
Yeah.
Almost kayfabe the name.
Oh my God.
Beautiful Bobby. What is the number 1?
Ooh. Don't kayfabe that. Don't use my shoot name because fucking people are looking for me. Number 1, let me close this fucking sheet of Instagram down. Number 1 is this isn't scary from a damn like the normal perspective, right? There's nothing frightening here in the grand sense of the word, but this was frightening because it almost scared me from being a wrestling fan. It almost scared me off from the sport I've loved for so many fucking years, just because this was the fucking cringiest, fucking most embarrassing, god awful, goddamn thing I've ever seen. And I've seen a lot of shit in wrestling. I've been there through the good times and the bad. And this was a promo between Paul Bearer and Jerry the King Lawler. And this was hot off the heels of Bearer announcing that he was Kane's father, right? It added another wrinkle in that whole story, that whole fucking saga, which of course meant that as the Undertaker's brother, that they had the same mother, and you put 2 and 2 together.
Oh yes.
Yeah, there was some of that being said, apparently. And you find out just how much they filmed this as in we're getting ready to go to commercial break. When we come back, King is going to talk to Paul Bearer about this whole thing. And it does that thing where they set the camera down, and supposedly, they're supposed to be off air, so they're just shooting between the two of them. But it's actually being recorded and shown on TV. Imagine that, and nobody told them, hey, we're still recording. It's just, that's beside the fact. They're sitting there talking, and King, he wants to hear what it's like to, fuck somebody that's actually an adult for once. So he
Jesus.
He mentions the pallbearer, and King pretty much wants fucking details on this whole thing. He's like, yeah, there's no way. The Undertaker's mom, and pallbearer's like, yeah. He's like, fucking, and pallbearer just proceeds to go on and tell a story about a sexual encounter that is every bit as arousing as you imagine it would be. Look at a picture of pallbearer. It's every bit as arousing a tale as you can imagine coming out of that man. And it's fucking filthy. It really is. Like nothing horrible is said, but it's just the alluding to and the wording, and it's all that. And Undertaker's mother took pallbearer on the fucking kitchen floor of the fucking funeral home, and pallbearer is fucking, he does this thing for a minute where he falls back and he's fucking shaking his legs like some jolly fucking fat man. And it's just, there's a lot there. And King's eating it up.
They actually booked this. This is a real thing that happened on television.
King is eating it up because, because he's a fucking sexual deviant any damn way. He's eating it up, and it goes on. It's one of those, it goes on just a little longer than it needs to. Also, it makes it even worse. Like it stretches out a minute. I will only say hats off to Jerry Lawler, because when they immediately after that, once they do come back from commercial, he delivers what is like a sincere, heartfelt apology. Like, oh shit, we got caught. You weren't supposed to see that. Things were said. My apologies. I'd like to think he was just apologizing for that fucking segment in general. Like even he realized, he's like, this is fucking sick. That's my number one, because while it's not scary. I mean, it involves pallbearer, Kane, Undertaker, so I could loosely tie it to that. And a guy that masquerades as a king, and masquerades as, not a child rapist. He's on there, but the scary thing was just like how close this was. I think I said to fucking to Justin Andretti here, it's like if somebody walked in and I had that on my TV and the options were that promo or fucking horse porn, I'd flick it on the horse porn in a second. I'd rather somebody walk in and see that on my TV than me watching that. It was the most fucking embarrassed I've ever been to be a wrestling fan. It was horrible. There's no redeeming value to it. It's on YouTube. If you want to watch it, you won't be the same. It's a low point in the industry. It really is. It's worse than the Katie Vick thing. I would have rather just seen a hardcore version of the Katie Vick angle than this promo.
Oh my God.
It's bad. I'd rather watch a Big Show match. That's less embarrassing to the sport than this promo. And that's saying a lot, because that fat fuck never should have gotten to a ring to begin with. But yeah, that's my number one. Kane and pallbearer talking about fucking nailing the Undertaker's mother right there on the kitchen floor of the funeral home. And
I don't even know where to go.
Disgusting.
Oh man, you know what's great too is that the pallbearer legitimately lived like one street over from where I was living at Euless.
No, you're lucky he didn't take you on the fucking kitchen floor.
Oh my God.
Justin Andretti.
Oh my God, that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I hated pallbearer every second of growing up, and even now I hate that character so much.
Well, this won't help.
Oh man.
Oh. Let's hear it, Andretti. What's your number
Oh boy,
one?
am I excited to talk about this. So I watched this several times last night, and you can find the whole compiled. I think it's like 3 vignettes, and then the Jake Roberts interview at the end. So it's kind of like 4 segments, right? This is one of the absolute. It might be my favorite thing that's ever happened in pro wrestling, And it happened when I was a little kid. So of course I was all in, believing it was completely real, and all in thinking this was really happening, in real life.
You Mark.
This is Jake the Snake Roberts deceives the Ultimate Warrior. And it's on YouTube. You can watch the whole thing. The quality's not great. I tried to find it on the dates on Peacock, to try to find the shows like on Superstars or whatever the hell it was, or Wrestling Challenge or whatever. I couldn't find it. I didn't know. I couldn't find the segments to watch them on Peacock, but you can find it on YouTube. So basically, what happens? It's the summer in 1991. Ultimate Warrior is in a really weird place, and I don't know why this was happening, but he was kind of feuding with The Undertaker as well as helping Hogan at SummerSlam right at the same time against Iron Sheik and Sergeant Slaughter. I have no idea why the Ultimate Warrior was in two very, very different feuds at the same time. Like, what the hell was that? Like, I have no clue. It's very unlike Vince to do something just, completely batshit like that. But anyway.
Well, I mean, not now.
No,
but
it just was so strange to see him. He was doing two programs at the same time. Like, that doesn't make any sense. But anyway, so basically the feud, the Ultimate Warrior and the Undertaker. Jake the Snake Roberts comes out on the funeral parlor, the Paul Bearer. I mean, these are all connected. That's hilarious. So Jake Roberts comes out on the funeral parlor, and basically says to Paul Bearer that he's going to teach the Ultimate Warrior the secrets of the darkness that the Undertaker possesses, so that the Ultimate Warrior can defeat the Undertaker. Okay. And Paul Bear's all worried about that. Like, no, you can't teach him the secrets. No, what are you doing? All this shit, right? So anyway, the Ultimate Warrior has to trust Jake the Snake, right? Which obviously nobody should ever trust Jake the Snake with anything, especially with showing up on time, right? So anyway, Jake is
staying sober.
Jake has the Warrior in a coffin, okay, in a casket, and the Warrior's grunting and he's trying to get out and all this shit. And Jake is telling him that you've got to learn how to beat the Undertaker by living like the Undertaker lives, right? So he eventually locks him in the coffin. The Ultimate Warrior's super uncomfortable. But then when he opens the casket, the Ultimate Warrior has the same look in his eyes as the Undertaker, right? So he's kind of learning the secrets of the darkness, right? Well, then in the second spot, which is one of the second spot is probably my favorite thing in wrestling history. So they're in the cemetery. There's all kind of fog and smoke and all this stuff. And Jake gives this really awesome promo as he's walking through the cemetery. And we find the Undertaker, the Ultimate Warrior, digging a grave, right? He's digging a grave, and he eventually pulls out a skull from the grave. And the Ultimate Warrior is some of the best shit this guy has ever done. He's saying stuff like, "Bury me alive, Snake Man. I trust you, Snake Man," and all this stuff. It's so over the top and so great. So anyway, Jake the Snake basically buries the Ultimate Warrior in the grave that he's dug. Okay, and he puts the skull right there by the tombstone. They never tell us whose grave this is. I guess they just dug up some old woman's grave for some. I don't know what the hell's going on. So then he puts
Jake the Snake's career is probably right beside it.
He puts the skull right at eye level for the Ultimate Warrior to stare into the skull, right? To learn the secrets of the dead, right? So then in the third segment, they're now in a mausoleum, and Jake the Snake tells the Ultimate Warrior, "You got to go into this room, this dark room, and you're going to find a coffin in there, and you got to open the coffin and find what's inside," right? So he goes in. Jake, of course, locks him into the room. There's snakes all over the place. The Ultimate Warrior's kicking snakes everywhere. And he gets to the casket and opens the casket. And there is a cobra in the casket. And the cobra bites the Ultimate Warrior, right? So then the Warrior, the life is draining out of the Warrior, and he breaks through the door, right as he's starting to pass out. And he's reaching out for help with his hand. And he puts his hand on the Undertaker's foot in the mausoleum, and you start to hear the chimes, right? The bell tolls and the chimes, and you hear the Undertaker's music, and the camera pans up real slowly, and you see the Undertaker and Paul Bearer, and Jake the Snake Roberts is laughing, and saying, "You never should trust the snake," ha ha ha, all this shit. And he turned on him. He turned on him. But then, the further story with that is that Jake wanted to murder the Ultimate Warrior in real life for the Warrior basically leaving WWF. I can't remember if he got fired at this point or if he left, but Jake was supposed to make a bunch of money with the Ultimate Warrior in a program, and the Warrior basically ran out of the company, right? And then there was no conclusion to it. There was no ending to this. But what's funny is that in that SummerSlam match, which was literally like 2 days later. I mean, they or maybe even 1 day later from when they showed the last segment of this whole the vignettes. It's the match made in heaven, match made in hell thing, right? Where it's Hogan and the Warrior versus Slaughter and the Sheik. And at the end of that match, the Ultimate Warrior runs away with a chair and chases General Adnan and the Sheik out of the arena. And I believe that was the last time we saw the Ultimate Warrior for a long time, him running out of the arena with a chair over his head, trying to chase those guys out of there.
The Undertaker got hold of him, and they took him on the floor, the kitchen floor, the funeral.
Apparently
parlor.
so, man. I mean, they seeing those vignettes as a kid. I was like, holy shit, this is the greatest thing I've ever seen in my life. I want to be a pro wrestler. This is so awesome. And I believed all of it, man. And I really thought that Jake the Snake Roberts was trying to help the Ultimate Warrior. And then when he turned on him, I was like, you son of a bitch, dude. Now I know why everybody hates your guts.
Including his daughter.
God. Unreal.
Oh, I don't even know how I'm going to follow that one up. These two have been incredible. But my number one is other great friend of the show, Trigger Trey Proctor. We went out for Halloween together one year in college, and I was Hulk Hogan and he was John Cena. Ooh. And great. I even had I took a blonde wig, cut it, so I had to, and then I put the bandana over it, so I had to skull it, and then I took one of the strands that I cut off and made the handlebar out of it, and wore the belt, the world heavyweight belt, and Trey didn't have to do much other than just put a cap on and some wristbands, and he was good to go. But that was a great Halloween that I believe that was the one and only time that Aruga's in town had they had like a bunch of cornhole boards and stuff sitting outside, and then there was a huge fight that happened and they never did it ever again. And because I think the cops got called and everything, and then everything was shut down that night.
Well,
but that was a great Halloween.
That's awesome.
But do we got any honorable mentions we want to make?
Yeah, I got a couple.
Sign off.
Winners, what do you have? You got any honorable mentions?
I dropped mine at the beginning with CGI Paul Bearer,
Funny.
who I had been calling for ever since the death of Paul Bearer, and I finally got him. And another one I briefly mentioned early on, I was terrified of the fucking Great Muta as a kid. And God, you could even go White Castle of Fear. I had a little worry also for Sting when Vader was dragging him across that fire. I didn't know if Sting was going to make it to the pay-per-view or not. And he had on that leather jacket when Vader was dragging him across. And all I could imagine was Sting was probably fucking burned up all to hell, except for that jacket he had on. Because I referenced the movie Lionheart, Jean-Claude Van Damme, where his brother gets burned alive at the beginning. He's got that leather jacket on, and part of the jacket is a little more preserved than his head and his hands. And I was like, oh my God, that's the same fate fucking Sting has suffered. He's just a howling fucking scarred skull in some operating room somewhere because Vader has dragged him across this fire. I guess they just wanted you to think Sting was going to fucking die because Great Muta was a Sting opponent too, and Vader. All kinds of awful things befell Sting over the years. I mean, it would go on. That Inferno match with Vampiro, that was an awful thing, all right. Jesus, was it ever? But it didn't scare me. But yeah, CGI Paul Bearer, Great Muta, White Castle of Fear. There's a lot of stuff there. A lot of early WCW was worrisome as a child.
I think the only time, or at least the most time, I was really scared as a kid was also with Sting, but it was with Vader. It was when Vader first came in with the big helmet with the smoke, and he started fighting Sting. I was legitimately worried he was going to kill Sting.
Wow. Yeah. I'll throw my honorable mention in there. Speaking of, this isn't really spooky, but it entails a graveyard. I believe this was the Big Boss Man and Big Show. Am I correct?
Oh yeah, you're right.
And they have a funeral service for Big Show's dad, where the Big Boss Man ends up chaining up the casket of Big Show's dad and driving off through the cemetery with the casket behind the vehicle, and Big Show runs after it and hops on the back and is drug around. That is something you should all check out and watch. I don't even know what that is, but just watching
incredible.
Watching that big lug of nothing hop onto the back of that casket.
Was Boss Man yelling out of a bullhorn during that too?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
This
was during that. There was this time where Boss Man was just like, they went full cartoon villain with him.
Oh my! But yeah, everyone should check that out. Love that one. Dud, I got a pause here. That'll edit that out. What do you got, Andretti?
Okay, so I also have. I wanted to give a shout out to two guys, so that were kind of Halloween themed. Hallowicked. I really always liked that guy. He's about my age. Awesome in Chikara. I mean, the guy's like a luchador. That has like a jack-o'-lantern mask. I have no idea if he's still working or not. I hope he is. I hope he's still doing his thing. But I always liked Hallowicked when I was really into Chikara there for a little while. And then the other guy that I wanted to shout out was Cyclope. I don't know if you guys remember him or not. WCW.
Yes.
I don't think he had a ton of matches in WCW. I don't think he was there very long. But I mean, he had an unbelievable mask. Kind of Halloween theme too. And I wanted to do Halloween match of the week. Cyclope versus Jericho. And why that's funny is because it was Cyclope's, most popular match in WCW, and he wasn't in it because it was Dean Malenko in the Cyclope outfit. And I'll always remember that. But poor Cyclope, not even being in the damn match whenever his character was in his most famous match in WCW. That was funny. But yeah, I wanted to give those two guys a shout out. And the only other thing that I had was NXT Halloween Havoc, the first one with Shotzi Blackheart, when she was the host. I thought that I feel like that was the last really good NXT show before it got really silly and went downhill after that. So that was kind of like the end of the era for me. Was that Halloween Havoc was kind of the last show that I actually thought was pretty good.
And I heard her shit pictures were half off that night too.
Could be. How much money do you think she made selling pictures of her poop on the internet?
A shit ton.
Oh my! Well, I want to thank you both for coming on, and hopefully everyone enjoyed the Super Show. I thoroughly enjoyed this. This was a hell of a good time. We probably are going to come back and do this again for our Thanksgiving show. And
I got a lot to say about Survivor Series. Because I watched the first one last night again.
Ooh.
Survivor Series sucks. I hate Survivor Series. It's the worst damn show of the year.
Save it because we're gonna do it. I know that Winners has got a lot of shit to say about Survivor Series. I've got a lot to say about Survivor Series, so I think we definitely need to do a Thanksgiving show.
For sure. We'll do our most thankful matches that we are thankful have happened that are the absolute
Boy, are we
shits.
thankful.
All right. Well, thank you both for being on this episode of the Podski and our Halloween Super Show. And we will see you at next time.
Trick or treat.
Sting, thank you for the invite to be a guest on the Halloween Super Show here on the Podski. We will come back anytime. Thank you again, Sting.